Looks like it's going to be Ross. Gataxian Probe means he's going to get a good look at what he's up against, which is Elves. There's a Green Sun Zenith, the Guy's Cradle, Crater Hoof Behemoth, Quirion Ranger, Glimpse of Nature, and a Green Sun Zenith. So 2 Zeniths in hand.
Pretty slow hand here for Aper. I mean, this is killing on turn 3 with the right draws under optimistic circumstances. That just might be too slow here if Tom's got a real hand.
Well, it depends on what Tom's draw looks like. He's got Noble Hierarch to start. He's also got that copy of Wasteland in hand. So, Glimpse number 2 is Aper's draw. Misty Rainforest here, basic forest, the weapon of choice for Brandon. And now he's going to get a Dried Arbor off of Green Sun Zenith. So a little bit of acceleration, invigorate the draw here for Tom.
Big question is, does Ross have an Infect creature? The rest of the tools in his hand seem awesome right now.
He's got a Brainstorm, and he did not find an Infect creature just yet. Picked up a Vine to the Vastwood, another Noble Hierarch, and a Misty Rainforest. So he's going to have to put 2 cards back, and I do not believe there is an Infect creature, Glistener Elf, Inkmoth Nexus, Blighted Agent in hand at this point.
You have your 12 Infect creatures. An upgrade that this deck gets in Legacy as opposed to Modern is Crop Rotation. A lot of things you can find with Crop Rotation, things like Pendlehaven or Wasteland, but most notably you can go get Inkmoth Nexus with it. That means this deck can kill from an empty board at the end of its opponent's turn, which is a very powerful angle of attack. The other big one is Berserk and Invigorate. Those are pump spells that are quite a bit more efficient than even the best pump spells available in Modern.
2 cards are back. And Tom might be sacrificing Misty Rainforest. And he will. Gonna get a Tropical Island. And the Noble Noble Hierarch. Ah, yes. Regular beatdowns. Which, I mean, it's funny, but it might be doable here.
It's got Become Immense. It's got Invigorate. It's not how you draw it up necessarily.
No, not really.
Wouldn't rule it out.
Here's Quirion Ranger.
The issue here for Ross is no real disruption now. The ship has sailed on something like Days or Wasteland being that disruptive. He's not threatening a turn 3 kill. Of course, he doesn't even have an Infect creature in play. And now Aper can really start going about his business.
Cradle's going to tap for 2 green. There's Dried Arbor and a Quirion Ranger out there. We could have a pretty fun turn here, depending on what Brandon's hand looks like. He'll go with a Wirewood Symbiote. 1 green floating. And now there's a Green Sun Zenith for 1. And we could very easily see it killed next turn from the Elves player.
That's, an angle of attack this deck has picked up over the last couple of years that it used to not have. Now with Crater Hoof Behemoth and the change to the Legend rule interacting with Guy's Cradle, this deck can win just by dumping a bunch of stuff on the table and casting Crater Hoof Behemoth. That used to not really be an option for this deck, but now you do not have to go through Glimpse or Natural Order to win the game.
Finhorn Elves the draw. I believe Berserk the draw there for Ross. He'll play a Wasteland.
So let's see what happens here if Aper runs no blocks. You Invigorate for free. That gets your creature up to 6. You become immense to 12. You Berserk to 24. You give him the 3 life for the Invigorate.
Berserk gives trample, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he could probably kill him through a blocker. Come on.
Come on.
All right.
This is outrageous.
Come on. All right, game 3. Here's an Invigorate. Come on. Come on with this. This is nonsense. This is complete nonsense.
So great.
This is complete nonsense that this is a thing that could happen. Yep, now Berserk.
Oh, my goodness.
Take 200 million. This is complete nonsense that he just killed him in regular damage.
Yep. I should take back what I said about Ross not threatening a turn 3 kill of his own.
This is nonsense. Tom Ross wins game number 1 with regular damage on turn 3.
Green-blue pump spells.
Yeah.
Flying Man, Unstable Mutation, Giant Growth, Bloodlust Berserk.
Over Brandon Aper. Infect up a game. Why? Just change the name to regular damage.
Yeah.
Up a game over Elves.
Blue-green regular damage.
Well then. Nobody doesn't like Tom, I tell you.
They're just not even totally nonplussed about it. Just no smile, no nothing. Just how we drew it up.
Normal day at the office. Take a look at the sideboard here for Aper. See if he has any hate against regular damage decks.
3 copies of Thoughtseize. 3 copies of Cabal Therapy, 2 Abrupt Decay, Pithy Needle, Choke, Marsh Casualties, Scavenging Ooze, Progenitus, Reclamation Sage, Sylvan Library. I think the Thoughtseizes are fine for this matchup. Cabal Therapy seems a little bit tough to do in this matchup because Ross has a lot of 2 and 3-0s floating around his deck. I think the 2 copies of Abrupt Decay are great. Marsh Casualties, Pithy Needle, also solid options.
On the other side of things here for the boss, he's got a Caracas, a Flusterstorm, a Hydroblast, a Necropede, a Force of Will, a Viridian Corruptor, a Surgical Extraction, more one-ofs in Nature's Claim, Corrosive Grip, Crop Rotation, Bajuka Bog, Wasteland, Spellskite, and then 2 copies of Submerge.
So I think the extra copy of Crop Rotation, in matches where there's no counter spells, you're not worried about losing your land and the Crop Rotation. It's a very helpful card to have and speeds up the deck, so I think the extra copy of Crop Rotation comes in. Necropede's very solid against a deck like Elsa that has a bunch of 1/1s in play. I think the 2 copies of Submerge are great here, as is the Force of Will.
Well, there are the options there for both players. And while they do shuffle up and get ready here for game number 2, we're talking about our Season 3 Invitational champion. That's Alex Bistecki. And he's got this beautiful Germ token that he won by winning the Season 3 Invitational in New Jersey. We'll see him at the Players' Championship, but here's a couple ways to go about getting that Germ token before we crown another Invitational champion.
Yeah, you can register for any of our 2-day $20,000 Open Series events like the one we're having right now in St. Louis. Any 5K Premier IQ, both the ones that we have here on Sundays of our Open Series events and the ones that you can bring to your local store. And all orders from StarCityGames.com, $5 or greater. So either head to one of our large events, and if you can't do that, place an order from the website today.
Congratulations to our Season 3 Invitational champion, Alex Bistecki, and we will see him at the Players' Championship at the end of the year, and maybe we'll see Tom Ross if he continues to draw like that. We saw the boss win 2 Invitationals last year. 32 years old, currently residing in Roanoke, Virginia, working for Star City Games, making the Versus videos and writing articles, and traveling to a lot more tournaments now, too, that he's got a crew to go with.
Exactly. You know, that Todd Anderson's trying to qualify as well. Brad Nelson's already queued, so going to be a lot of grinding here through Season 4.
6 Open Series top 8s with 1 W, most recent one in Atlanta 2 weeks ago with Bant Megamorph. 1 Pro Tour top 8 at PT Honolulu 2009, 4 Grand Prix top 8s on the resume. Parkour fan, can still do backflips, loves Mortal Kombat 10, and 5-time Louisiana state champion. Quite the resume for the boss. Though, as we mentioned when we were in Atlanta, too, didn't think he had so few Open Series top 8s, only 6.
It is surprising, but what I really like about Tom Ross's resume, he's won a lot at every level of the game, from local events like the old state championships all the way up to the Pro Tour. Plays a lot of Magic and has had a lot of success at all levels of the game.
And currently up a game right now thanks to regular damage and a timely Berserk.
Perfect.
Not perfect, that's for sure. Very impressive stuff there from the boss.
I mean, I've lost to regular damage at an Infect X before. I've never been turn 3'd.
Not by regular damage,
Turn
no.
3 via regular damage is...
With like 6 creatures on the battlefield?
And for your modern enthusiasts of the Infect deck, you can see in Legacy, Invigorate, Berserk, very different animals from the pump spells you're used to playing with.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Berserk can also be a kill spell.
When times get tough.
Kills Delver Secrets
Yeah,
fair amount of the time.
I think it's a perfectly reasonable removal spell at times.
It's not how you draw it up, but it is modal. You can use it for that as well.
Aper going to keep his opening hand, as will Ross. We're underway here in game number 2. Windswept Teeth is where Brandon will start things. He'll go with a Bayou.
I mean, that's got to be a dispiriting game. You're on camera against this guy. He's had a lot of successes with this deck across multiple formats, and you get turn 3'd when he didn't have an Infect creature.
I'll attack the Noble Hierarch. Sure, no blocks. Oh, no, Tom's got the Piracy Charm again.
I have a feeling that's going to come up. Don't know how just yet,
Yep.
but that's going to be a thing.
I love that Tom has an unhealthy love for specific cards in the decks that he plays. Mm-hmm. He loves Piracy Charm so much. It's a pretty medium card.
A lot of different things it can do.
A lot of modes.
It can be a bootleg pump spell. It could be a bootleg removal spell. It could be a bootleg evasion card. A lot of different things.
He's going to start things off with a Pendelhaven into a Noble Hierarch.
But that's how you like the charms to be. It's someone who appreciates all the modes.
Yep.
He's not playing it just for one effect or one situation. It's because of its flexibility.
Let's see what's next here for Aper. Does have, I believe, a Guy's Cradle in hand.
Believes that stupid from the Vault Dryad Arbor.
You're a big fan.
Just
There's an Abrupt Decay. Got to get Noble Hierarch out of here. There's the Dryad Arbor.
I at least appreciate the fact that Aper has put it up front. He's saying this is the Dryad Arbor.
No tricks.
No tricks. It's a good moment for Piracy Charm. I guess it puts a land in the graveyard. But if Ross is going to do that anyway via this Misty Rainforest, well, then there you go.
Yeah, might as well just kill it then. There's a Tropical Island.
Yeah, but Ross's affection for 1 or 2 Piracy Charms, I really appreciate as well.
There's Glistener Elf and Piracy Charm. Little +2, -1.
This is Blue Funeral Charm,
Yes.
which was time shifted for who knows what reason. But here it is. Played Funeral Charm my first Pro Tour.
How'd that go?
Ups and downs.
A lot of highs, a lot of lows.
Yeah, it's what you'd expect.
Yep.
Used all the modes.
That's good. That means the card was good for you.
Yep.
Use all the modes.
Gave a Hunted Wumpus Swamp Walk against Reanimator for lethal.
That'll teach him.
Yep, that did teach him. My opponent actually said to the person sitting next to him, who I do not believe he knew, I'm never playing another Magic tournament again.
Ending careers for some time now. It looks like we got a Quirion Ranger here for Aper. Deathrite Shaman's going to remove that Misty Rainforest for some mana. Looks like Heritage Druid might be on the way, but it could be Wirewood Symbiote as well.
I think that Aper wants to give himself the opportunity to chump block, and the Wirewood Symbiote's the best way of doing this. He can block, put something back in his hand. If he plays, say, the Heritage Druid, then he either has to chump block or risk death.
Force of Will to draw here for Ross.
And Inkmoth Nexus is great against Elves. Elves is vulnerable to flyers. Now, normally that doesn't come up because the deck can just kill you on the 3rd turn of the game, so you don't have to worry about random flyers showing up. But it is notable that they do not block very easily, and so combo decks that are based around attacking with a flyer can be a little bit more effective against Elves. And Blighted Agent, naturally, great here.
Ross just going to attack here with the Glistener Elf. Boring old attack.
Hard to play around this deck. I mean, it's hard to play around in Modern with the 1-mana pump spells. Here, Ross could have just a Pendelhaven activation and 2 Invigorates. He can kill from nothing.
There's your activation. Pick up the Quirion Ranger. Untap the Deathrite Shaman. No harm, no foul. This is where Elves gets a little bit tricky because it's able to do things like this against Infect where it makes it difficult for them to be able to get through. Another Glistener Elf. And we can't ignore the Inkmoth Nexus that was played either. Aper going to sacrifice a Windswept Heath. And there's a Dryad Arbor. That tricky Dryad Arbor.
Again, appreciate the fact. Moved up to the front.
Yep.
No shenanigans. You can tell something's a future site design, by the way, when it has reminder text with no keyword. It's just like, this is how the card works, because there's no way you would know without us spelling it out inside of the card. We just need to tell you how this works. It's like a card out of alpha.
It isn't a spell. It's affected by Summoning Sickness, and it has tap, add green mana to your mana pool. and Right Arbor's green.
It's literal reminder text. It is reminding you how the card works, because there's no way you would know otherwise.
So it's safe to say we probably won't see any more designs like this.
It's unlikely.
Yeah.
This is evidence that maybe this is not a great idea, is when we have to write a paragraph at the beginning of the card telling you how it works.
Gotta try it out. Get a feel for it. There's a Heritage Druid.
I believe Tom is just sitting on Force of Will plus blue card with Become Immense.
Okay.
Can chip away here with Inkbond Nexus plus Pendelhaven, counter a critical spell, kill over the course of a couple turns. If he happens to draw something like Invigorate, it becomes much easier.
Deathrite, gonna remove Windswept Heath. And now here's Natural Order. Well, you have to sacrifice something as part of the cost. Looks like Quirion Ranger will be sacrificed. But as you mentioned, it appears Tom has Force Will plus blue card, and he does, and that blue card is Blighted Agent.
Which is why he didn't play the Blighted Agent last turn. Inkbond Nexus and Blighted Agent, very close to the same threat against Elves. It's very hard for them to block. It's basically impossible for them to block either copy, but this way he got to sit back with Force of Will.
Glistener Elf, I believe the draw there for Ross. Was able to stave off elimination. If that Natural Order did resolve, Crater Hoof Behemoth would have came on down, it would have been a lethal attack. So we play on here in game number 2.
And I think Tom might be well served firing up everything and attacking. The Glistener Elves here, Tom might be interested in having them trade, because the Become Immense right now is a little expensive. He has to commit 2 mana to the Nexus itself, and then 1 mana to activate it. So if he can get some stuff in his graveyard, the Become Immense gets on the cheap, and setting up a kill in a couple turns becomes a lot easier.
There also might be some interest in removing some of Brandon's Elves off of the table as well. He does have a Cradle out there. So if he could maybe slow down Brandon's mana generation.
Yeah, for sure. Ross is happy with any trade that occurs right now, because he wants a card in his graveyard, and the less stuff that Aper has, the better.
We'll see if Aper does any blocking. Always scary to play against Infect and don't block.
And what's really nice about this attack from Ross's side of the table, he didn't fire up the Nexus. What he's saying to Brandon is, I can use all my mana. This might get Brandon to block and trade or chump off in a spot where he otherwise wouldn't.
So you're going to get a block there. Pendelhaven's going to pump the unblocked Glistener Elf. And then Brandon's going to activate Wirewood Symbiote, untap Deathrite Shaman, and pick up his Elf. So, 2 Infect here for Aper. A Thought Seize here is going to take care of Become Immense. It's actually a pretty good draw.
That's an awesome draw here. I mean, Ross's clock is pretty slow without that Become Immense.
Deathrite Shaman. Looks like it's going to come across in the red zone.
Aper doesn't have a lot going on here, but this is 4 turns the way the board currently looks.
Yeah.
That's a long time for Aper to find Natural Order or just a Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Blighted Agent the draw. Here come the Glistener Elves. Ross again refusing to attack with Inkmoth Nexus.
I believe he drew Blighted Agent, so this turn I think he's committing his mana to pump with Pendelhaven and cast the Blighted Agent.
Okay. Heritage Druid going to jump in front of a Glistener Elf. Tom will pump. Aper going to go up to 5 Infect. Now here's Blighted Agent.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Aper's got to make sure he leaves himself with enough that Natural Order will be lethal.
Yes.
Pretty important right now, actually.
Once again, if you signed up for Two-Headed Giant, please come up to the stage.
He's just going to pass the turn back. No real good attacks to be had. So we're going to head back Ross's way as he is slowly but surely chipping away. And now there is a copy of Wasteland, which actually is a really nice draw.
Huge draw here, as now Ross can go after that Gaia's Cradle, and that shuts out a lot of Aper's potential draws.
He can go after that. He could consider Dryad Arbor. Even, heck, Bayou maybe knocking that off. Taking care of some black mana. Shuts off Abrupt Decay, stuff like that. You know, you never know.
Yeah, a lot of options here. If I'm Ross, I feel like unless Aper has a lot of mana going into his own turn, there's nothing he can really do. Depending on the blocks go, it's possible that Aper's board is degraded to a point where you're going after Bayou or Dryad Arbor instead. But if Aper is able to keep his board relatively intact here, then I think Ross is likely to go after the Cradle.
Well, they're the attack with everything. And now it's on Aper to do some blocking, and Pendelhaven's going to make this pretty tough. But Aper might, I don't want to say he's going to lose all of his board, but he's going to lose a pretty healthy amount of it, I think.
Well, I think the best thing for Aper to do is he has to block something because Pendelhaven makes this lethal, but he needs to leave enough of his board intact that there's the hope of drawing something next turn. So I think he has to block like this, risk a pump spell, and then hope that next turn is, you know, the top of the deck is very cooperative.
Okay. The Glistener Elf that's blocked by Deathrite Shaman is the one that's being pumped by Pendelhaven. You're going to get a Deathrite Shaman activation. It's going to remove Force of Will to cause Ross to lose 2 life. After the dust settles, it looks like Aper is going to move up to 8 Infect, and the Glistener Elf will take care of the Deathrite Shaman.
And then Ross has this covered on board next turn, almost regardless of what happens, because he has 2 evasive Infect creatures, along with the Pendelhaven. So Aper has to win the game next turn.
Wirewood Symbiote activation does pick up the Deathrite Shaman. There's the Wasteland there for Tom in main phase number 2. Again, the question is just what does he want to target with that, because I feel like he's going to use it now. He's going to go after Dryad Arbor. Now he passes the turn back over to Aper. Aper picked up another copy of Gaia's Cradle. That's not going to help him here in this situation. And what we've seen here are 2 very strange game wins here from Tom Ross. One with regular damage kill on turn 3, and another with just chipping away with infect damage, no big pump spells necessary. Either way, a win's a win's a win's a win, and Tom Ross is now 4-0.
A little bit easier for Ross to interact effectively with Aper. His deck's probably a little bit more reliable as a, you know, turn 3 kill, which